The air in the Okavango Delta does not simply hang, it settles. It is a thick, honeyed thing, heavy with the scent of wet earth, crushed reed, and the distant, sweet decay of water lilies. The light, especially in the late afternoon, is not a mere illumination but a substance, golden, palpable, pouring like liquid amber over the endless silver channels, gilding the backs of dozing hippos and turning the feathery heads of papyrus into silhouettes of black lace against a burning sky. This is not a landscape that shouts. It whispers. It breathes. Its soundtrack is not a symphony but a lullaby woven from 1,000 tiny, intricate threads of sound, a living ambient composition that has played for millennia. It is within this ancient, breathing scenery that the human drama of Nkashi, Race for the Okavango unfolds, a story not of engines, but of poles, of muscle against current, of silent knowledge against the immutable flow of time and water. Our story begins not with a starting pistol, but with the soft, percussive knock of mokoro against mokoro, the hollow music of dugout cypress wood. The racers, the mokoros, are men whose bodies are maps of this place, their muscles etched by years of poling through labyrinthine channels, their eyes calibrated to read the slight tremor on the water's surface that signifies a hidden hippo trail or a lurking crocodile. They stand poised at the stern of their slender craft, the nashi pole held not as a tool, but as an extension of their own spine, a fifth limb. The ambient music of the delta swells around them in this moment of anticipation. The distant, thunderous snort of a hippopod, a bassline felt in the chest more than heard by the ear, the high, skirling whistle of a fish-eagle, a majestic, lonely melody that arcs across the heavens, the omnipresent, churring chorus of cicadas, a shimmering sonic blanket that seems to emanate from the very heat haze rising from the water. And then, they are off. Not with a roar, but with a profound, straining silence. The race is a pursuit of quietude as much as speed. The perfect polar is a ghost on the water, his nashi entering and leaving the murky depths with a soft, sucking sigh, creating only the faintest of ripples. The true competition is against the delta itself, its deceptive currents, its hidden logs, its capricious wildlife. The scenery ceases to be a backdrop and becomes an active, breathing character. As a racer rounds a bend, he is met not by a competitor, but by a family of elephants, moving through the chest-deep water with a ponderous, gentle grace. The only sound is the swirl of water around their massive limbs, the occasional contented rumble from a calf, the tearing of reeds as a trunkful is shoveled into a mouth. The racer must stop, pole held vertical, absolutely still. The ambient track shifts. The cicadas fade. Now, it is the intimate symphony of the elephants, the flutter of ears like giant fans, the deep, subsonic communication that vibrates through the water into the hull of the mokoro. Time, measured in race minutes, dissolves into the ancient, measured time of the herd. This is not a delay, it is a reminder. It is the delta asserting its primacy. The race weaves through landscapes that change character with the subtlety of a modulating chord. One channel opens into a lagoon, a vast, silent expanse of water mirroring a sky so enormous it induces a quiet vertigo. Here, the soundtrack is minimalist, spacious, the whisper of a breeze over open water, the plop of a terrapin slipping off a log, the lonely cry of a jacana bird skittering across lily pads. The scenery is reduced to elemental forms, water, sky, the faint green smudge of an island on the horizon. A racer alone in this immensity is a mere speck, his rhythmic poling the only human signature in a divine canvas. The mind, freed from the intense focus of narrow channels, can wander, lulled by this vast serenity. It is in these moments that the deeper meaning of the race seeps in. This is not just a test of speed, but a pilgrimage through the last great intact inland delta, a living library of water and life. Then, the channel narrows again, diving into a cathedral of papyrus and phoenix palms. The light turns green and dappled, the air cools and smells of root and shadow. The ambient sound becomes close, intimate, textured. The buzz of dragonflies, the croak of a painted reed frog like a tiny, wooden wiro, the sudden, startling splash of a breaching barbel. The water here is black, reflecting the tangled roof of vegetation, making the mokoro seem to float on a sheet of obsidian. Every sense is heightened. A polar must read the water by sound as much as sight, the difference in the lap of water against firm bank versus soft, vegetative mat, the warning gurgle of a submerged hippopath. His own breathing, the soft strain in his shoulders, becomes part of the soundscape. The race here is a tactile, auditory experience, a journey through the delta's veins. As the sun begins its descent, painting the sky in violent hues of ochre and violet, the delta's evening chorus begins its overture. This is the peak of the ambient symphony. The cicadas are joined by 1,000 other voices, the rhythmic, burbling croak of bullfrogs setting up a complex, polyrhythmic beat, the haunting, fluting call of the burchell's cuckoo, a sound so liquid it seems to drip from the trees, the distant whoop of hyenas, a reminder that the world of tooth and claw is waking. For the racers, pushing through the fading light, this crescendo of life is both a companion and a veil. It masks the sounds of other competitors, the approach of animals. The scenery, now silhouetted, becomes a world of shapes and shadows. A floating log might be a crocodile. A dark mound in the water might be a hippo. The race transforms from a physical challenge into a test of nerve and ancestral knowledge, of navigating by the feel of the current and the memory of the channel beneath a cloak of poetic, terrifying sound. The finish line, when it comes, is not a ribbon but a gathering of lantern light and human voices against the deepening twilight. The physical race ends with exhausted hands, trembling muscles, and the final, soft scrape of Mokoro hull on sand. But the greater journey, the immersion in the delta's soul, does not. As the night settles in, absolute and velvety, the human noises fade, the chatter, the congratulations, the stories of close calls. The ambient music of the delta, briefly overshadowed, reasserts itself in its purest, most profound form. Now, under a cosmos of impossible clarity, the soundscape deepens and simplifies. The insect chorus becomes a constant, shimmering drone, the very hum of the earth. The sporadic, baritone boom of a far-off lion rolls across the water like distant thunder, a foundational bass note that speaks of primordial power. The splash of a hunting owl, the squeak of a fruit bat, the endless, gentle lap of water against the shore, these are the delicate high notes. A hippo grunts from the deep, dark channel, its sound echoing as if from the delta's very heart. This is the music that was here long before the first Mokoro was hollowed, and will remain long after. It is the sound of a system in perfect, breathing balance. The racers, now still, listen. Their bodies may be spent from the race, but their spirits are full from the passage. They did not just traverse a course, they moved through a living organism, a masterpiece of nature whose scenery is its skin and whose ambient sounds are its steady, eternal pulse. Nkashi, Race for the Okavango is, in its essence, the story of this communion. It is a tale of humans inserting themselves, briefly and respectfully, into an ancient rhythm, using their skill and silence to become, for a few hours, not conquerors of the landscape, but notes within its grand, unending song. They raced not for the Okavango, but within it, and in doing so, they heard the story it has been telling since the beginning of time, a story of water, life, and the profound, whispering beauty of a world that thrives not on noise, but on the exquisite, layered quiet of simply being.